So they ended up um, speaking to a veteran detective, I guess, and he decided to start the case all over to work it. And so he asked him, you know, I heard that you had asked to move apartments. Why? So they proceed to explain that they think that the girl that was shot, that the shooter was actually coming after them.
Welcome to another episode of More Than Just a Story podcast. Today we have a very special guest. She's coming to talk about the story about her daughter, Jaime Renee Hogland. And welcome. Thank you for accepting our invite.
Thank you for having me.
So tell me a little bit about yourself. How many children you have, your daughter, siblings, stuff like that.
Okay. So I have a blended family. So we had 6 kids total, 3 boys, 3 girls, and I've got 14 grandchildren.
Wow.
And so very large family. Jamie was my oldest of my children from a previous marriage.
Okay. And where are y'all from?
So we are from Conroe, north of the Woodlands.
Okay. So, the time of the accident happened, your daughter was down here for college?
Yes, she was attending Tarleton State University. When she came, she was had a nursing major. After the incident, she changed her major to psychology, though.
Okay. Tell us how she decided to go to Tarleton.
So she was just searching online. She had gone to the local community college, and she had done very well. So, we wanted to make sure she was set up for success before we sent her off to a university. And so when we thought she was doing well, she started searching, figuring out where she wanted to further her education. And she just happened to come across Tarleton in her search. And she asked me about setting up a visit. And so when she did, I was just so excited because I had came to Tarleton when I was in high school for different judging events and stuff with our ag class. And I had always dreamed about coming to Tarleton. So whenever she just came up with this on her own, I was so excited,
Right.
for her to set up that visit.
Yeah. Tell us about how was she when she was little?
Um, she was very clingy. We were super close. Jamie had never been a risk taker. She loved her family deeply, and just a go lucky child.
Mm-hmm. Did she ever tell you what her dreams were?
Yeah, her dreams was to become a child life specialist. She was wonderful working with children, and she had wanted to just give back and help kids, especially, like when they're going through hard times being in the hospital, find ways to get their mind occupied and such. And so that was kind of what she wanted to do.
Yeah. Tell us about the day of the incident.
So the day of the incident, Jamie was still here in Tarleton. It was December 10th, 2017. She
Her
had
first year, freshman.
her freshman year.
Was that her freshman year or
No, I guess that would be her sophomore year
Okay.
because she had already, I think she was a sophomore when she transferred here.
Okay.
So she had lived on campus for the initial, when she got here, I guess, 2 semesters she lived on campus. And come August, she moved to an off campus apartment. So Jamie had already finished her finals and such, so that's why she was still in Stephenville. She worked at the Welcome Center, and so she just wanted to earn a little extra money before she came home for the Christmas break. So the day of the incident, she had just been in her apartment doing her laundry, doing her, routine stuff. And that night, there was a knock on her door. And she looked at her peephole and didn't see anything. And they banged again. And so she had thought that it was a child from the apartment complex that was playing like the ding dong ditch. And so she just ignored it again. And again, there was another knock. So she looked at her peephole, still didn't see anything. So she opened the door thinking she was going to scare the child or whatever. And immediately as she opened the door, she was She was shot point blank, inches away from her face. So the bullet went through her cheek, exited out her neck. Before doing that, it shattered her spine and severed her spinal cord. So she was instantly paralyzed, a quadriplegic, and she laid there 4 hours before she was found.
And off the cameras, you had mentioned to me that she had asked for help through her Siri, or somebody had called the police department. And can you tell us a little bit of that?
Yeah, so Jamie had her phone beside her, I guess, when she answered the door. And so immediately, as she had fallen after being shot, she says that she called for, telling Siri to call for 911 for help. And we're told that they could see that it had been prompted to call, but the call never went out. Someone in the apartment complex did call in to call 911 or whatever to say that report a gunshot, and they came out to investigate. They said they didn't see anything. They thought maybe a car had backfired, and so they left. And so it had been about 4 hours, and finally someone else in the apartment complex from across to the next building, somehow she said that she heard somebody calling for help. We really feel like she was an angel, heard from God, because there was so much air in Jamie's lungs. Her neck was really swollen, and really there was no way that she could have really been able to verbalize and call for help that loud for somebody across the parking lot to be able to hear her. And so, but luckily this person found her about 4 hours later and called and got her help.
Were you notified right away?
We were. The officer who found her, his name is Eric Hunt. He's still with the police department. He was wonderful. He just called and he let us know that our daughter had been shot, and he couldn't give us any details, but he told us that it was very serious, that we needed to start heading towards Fort Worth, and they would provide more details along the way, but that it was a very serious situation. And so of course we jump up and drive as fast as we can to get to the hospital, and they had transported her to JPS hospital, and so we got there and someone met us and brought us upstairs and kind of explained the situation to us at that point.
At that moment, as a mother, what was your head? Where were you? What was going through your mind?
I was in straight panic. Honestly, when we got to the hospital and got up to the floor, I couldn't immediately go into the room. I was just so...
Did you talk to her during the day? During that day?
Oh, yes, that day. Oh, well, that night I had actually called her probably moments before the shooting had happened for something silly. She had told us that she was already going to bed, but I was looking to buy some tickets to go to a basketball game when she was home for Christmas, and so I wanted to verify the dates before I bought the tickets. And Jamie tells me that she could hear the phone ringing, but she couldn't move to answer, and it had just been moments after the shooting had occurred. Mm-hmm. And so, but yes, my daughter, we talked all the time on the phone. Like I said, she was very close with us, and if she wasn't calling me, she was calling her dad, and so every opportunity she had to come home, that's where her heart was. She really, loved and wanted to be with her family.
Family oriented.
Yeah.
Yep. Tell us what happened when you got to the hospital.
So when I got to the hospital, they escorted us up to the ICU floor, and
at this moment, you didn't know if she was alive or not, or did you know she was alive?
We knew that she was alive, but we knew that she was seriously critical.
Okay.
And so we got up to the ICU floor, and it was like I froze. And so my husband went to, they brought him straight in to see her, and they had me go to a room to kind of gather myself before going in and kind of talk to me and tell me, kind of what to expect. And so, of course, they had her on a ventilator. They had some machines hooked up to her because, it was so cold. It was like 10 degrees that night. And so they had to run some fluids through her body to warm her up or something. And then, just everything. It was very invasive. And so, they kind of prepared me of what to go in. And I was terrified, and of course running through your mind, how would this happen?
Or why did
it happen? Jamie had never been one to get in trouble. She had never hung out around the wrong crowds. She was a homebody, and so just the overwhelming sense of how and the why, trying to process that.
There was so much unknown at this moment.
Yes.
Still.
Yes.
There was so much unknown. So when you first saw her physically, obviously, it was very shocking to you as a mom. But tell us the process after.
Yeah. So, of course, you got to put on your strong face, right? And so, there was a couple of days that she was just totally, sedated and such while they were trying to, I guess, let her body rest and figure out, surgical what needed to happen. And so, you have to act strong and hold it together when mentally and emotionally and physically you're just so overwhelmed. But the first time that they took her off the ventilator, of course, the detectives and stuff, they wanted them to be the first people to be able to speak with her. And so...
how did you feel about that?
Well, I understood the importance of it. But as a mom, you want to control the situation, right? You want to be right there. And so for you to have to step away, that's tough, But I cannot say enough about the detectives and the whole force, the DA, like the whole team worked so hard to figure out the hows and whys and to solve the case.
Okay.
Yeah.
After she woke up, was she able to recognize people?
Yes.
Yeah.
She didn't lose any cognitive ability at all. She was able to tell them exactly what that he had black mask, to explain what she had seen, that he had a gun, whatever. Like gave them specific details. And of course she's scared out of her mind, when you can't, at this point she couldn't use any part of her body, her arms, her leg, she's totally paralyzed.
Did she know at this moment that she was going to be paralyzed?
She did.
She did.
Yes. But she was fully aware the whole time exactly of her condition from the time that she became alert.
And just to clarify, she did not know the person that shot her. They had no connection, nothing whatsoever.
No connection at all. As they're trying to figure out the case, they called, like all of her coworkers at the college, her roommate. They had went down all these avenues of trying to see maybe who or why, and dumped her computer and such. And there was absolutely no leads at all to figure out how to proceed. So they ended up speaking to a veteran detective, I guess, and he decided to start the case all over to work it. And so he went back to the apartment complex that she lived in, and he asked them if anybody had recently asked to move. And they told him, yeah, somebody did. So he wanted to know who, and he goes to that individual. And so he asked him, I heard that you had asked to move apartments. Why? So they proceed to explain that they think that the girl that was shot, that the shooter was actually coming after them. So they're like, well, why would you think that? And who would you think that would be? So he provides the name, which was Sean Layton, and they go to Sean Layton's, I guess, residence. And I guess when they have the search warrant and such as that, they went in, they found the mask, they found the black clothes, they found everything except for the weapon when they went in, and they were able to arrest him. Of course, he said he didn't know anything about that girl being shot, and, played it off. But they arrested him, and time goes by. They tell us that they have the person there, pretty guaranteed that's who it was. When it went to trial, he was found guilty within moments. The trial lasted for, I want to say, like a week.
Did he confess? Did he say anything?
No, he did not confess. At the very end, Jaime was able to give a victim impact statement. And so for that statement to be given, it had to be handwritten, and the judge had to approve it before she could do it. And Jaime did that. And so keep in mind, she's paralyzed. But through all the therapies and all that, we had been able to learn avenues for her to be able to do such. So she had wrote her impact statement. The judge approved it. She asked that he turn and face her as she read her statement. And the judge said, we can ask him to, but I can't force him to. So he turned his chair and he faced her, and she provided very specific details of everything that he stole from her, how she would never get to walk across the stage for her graduation, how she would never get to walk down the aisle and dance at her wedding, and, probably motherhood being stole from her. Like all of these things that we live for in life, right? And at the very end, after she had poured her heart out, he glanced up and said sorry and put his head directly back down. And that's the only acknowledgement that was given.
Did Jaime ever feel angry at any point? Like, why did it happen to me? I mean, her life changed in a second because of somebody else's fault.
Yeah, for sure. It's hard to accept that. I mean, she went from totally independent, living her life, to really being an infant in an adult body. She had a lot of pain. She had a lot of, of course, questioning of why her life would take this route, right? But she never got bitter, and she never got angry. She did have a lot of anxiety that, something else was going to happen to her. There was a lot of therapies that we had to go through afterwards with her. But to say that she was ever angry or vengeful or anything like that, absolutely not. She still had joy. She still would get up and just laugh about everything, and still found a way to enjoy life. And, we just had to learn how to do things different.
Yeah. Yeah, with her situation, a lot of people do get angry. A lot of people do get like, why me? His sentencing, what did he get?
So he got a sentence. He was charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, and he got the maximum sentence, which was 20 years. So he is potentially eligible for parole in half of the time. So within 10 years, he's eligible for parole for the first time.
How do you feel about that?
I do not think it's enough time. If Jaime was still with us today, she would be living with what happened to her paralysis, for the rest of her life. It was a life sentence for her. For him to potentially be able to be out in a short amount of time and go about his life as nothing ever happened, there's not really a sense of justice in that. But it was the fullness of what we currently had as the law was written.
Mm-hmm. And I know that you started a process to change the law.
We did.
Can you let us know about that?
Yes. So with the help of Shelby Slauson and Alan Nash and numerous other people, they took on fighting for to have a law that is named after Jamie and after Brandy Todd, another lady from Stephenville. And so this law would give a steeper punishment if a victim is left with permanent brain injury, or like a traumatic brain injury, or irreversible paralysis. And so currently it's a second-degree felony, but when we went to petition about having the law changed, it's now a first-degree felony. And the law is named the Todd Hogland Act.
How hard was it to go through all that process?
It was very difficult. It took us numerous times to go through the whole process and actually get it approved. I think we went to Austin 3 different attempts before it happened. So it took like 6 years, I guess, from the time that they had really started it, because I think they vote like every other year. But this final time, I had to go testify right after Jamie had passed away, within a month of her passing away. I had to be in Austin to testify. And it was very difficult to be able to share our story, at that time, because your emotions are so raw. But I see the importance of it for future victims and their families to be able to have a greater sense of justice.
Tell us, Jamie's, how did she pass?
So a year after the shooting, in January 2019, Jamie had came home from therapy, and she had this bruise on her shoulder. And so she just happened to have an appointment with her rehab doctor the next day. So I asked the doctor if she would do some blood work to see maybe if she was anemic, or, if something was going on. So thank God we asked for that blood work to be done. But we got home right afterwards, within an hour, and they had the results of the blood work, and I was called and told to get her to the hospital immediately. So we did, and as we were driving down there, got another call from the rehab doctor's office, and she wanted to make sure that we were on our way. And I said, yeah, I'm in Humble, Texas right now. I'm on the way. So as I got to Memorial Hermann Hospital, they had a team of doctors that met us as soon as we walked in the door. Really didn't know what we were walking into, but it was a cancer diagnosis. And so she ended up having acute myeloid leukemia. And so it's projected that it came from all the trauma and the treatments and such that she endured after the gunshot probably led to this cancer. Jamie and her medical team, they fought really, really hard for 2 years. She went into remission 4 times, but every time it came back, the cancer came back with a vengeance, and more aggressive, and just kind of took over. So in November of 2020, the cancer had spread to her brain, and we lost her in April of 21.
As a mother, going through all that, first her getting shot, and then after that, you're getting a little bit of life back, and then you get hit with this. How did you feel as a mom going through all that? Like, were you ever angry at God? Were you ever angry at life for what was happening to your daughter?
To say that I was ever angry, no, not at all. I was in survival mode. The days were long, the nights were long. We averaged like at least probably 10 appointments a week in between lab work and therapies and such. You never caught a break. So I never really had a time to sit and feel, because my job was to take care of my daughter and take care of my family. And so I think that kind of alters the way that you think, where you don't have time to just... You wish things was different. You wish that's not the life that you're living. But I wouldn't have had it any other way of making sure that she was getting all the help the medical help that she needed.
What about after her passing? How does a mom, when a parent dies, you're an orphan.
Yeah.
When partner dies, you're a widow, but there's no words to describe when a parent loses a child.
Yeah. It's so unnatural, right?
Yep.
And so, and for all these years, Jamie had, yes, we have other children, okay? And I'm so grateful for our friends and family that stepped in and helped us through those years, because there's no way I could fully function to take care of all aspects of my family, okay? But my priority was I had to keep and get the medical care that Jamie needed. So I'm so thankful for everyone that stepped in and helped us. But there is no, it's so unnatural to lose a child. But I thank God that He's helped me. He's gave me a sense of boldness, a sense of purpose to use my pain and the knowledge of everything that I had to soak in for these years to now to be able to help other families. And so it was kind of like immediately my purpose changed to where now how can I help other people who have walked down the journey that I was on. And I really think that that's helped, like in my healing process. So now, grief-wise, I had I had a major meltdown when I had to pack up her bedroom. I mean, you think of a young person's life being condensed down to a trunk, really is what I had left, And that was a hard pill to swallow, that's all I had left of my daughter, And so I had gone to my doctor, I'm not ever one to really take medication or whatever, but I knew that I had a sense of depression or such, and I needed some help. And so she had referred me to try to go to counseling. And I went to one session, and I said, that's not for me. I'm not doing that. And so I ended up, a friend referred me and told me about this organization called Grief Share. It's a Christian ministry. And so I was able to seek it out by my zip code, and I went and attended a group. And I couldn't really relate to, a loss is a loss no matter what, right? But there's a difference in a loss in a spouse and a loss of a sibling and a loss, not that one is greater than the other, but the way that you relate is totally different. And so I went through Grief Share, 2 different sessions. It's like 13 weeks that a group meets. And it really helped me to be able to find a way to move forward. And so at this time, I have now established a Grief Share for our community and our church, and I'm able to walk along those who are on that grief journey as well. Because, when you can really understand where people are coming from and where their hurts are and what they've endured, you can walk with them in a different way, So besides that, I have stepped out and helped at TIER, the rehab hospital, for families that are new to the spinal cord injuries, and figuring out a new way of life to be able to offer support and some instruction and stuff of how to navigate the new way of life. Anyway, I've just tried to find a new purpose. I had to find a new identity,
Yeah, because I cannot imagine. I'm a mother, and losing a child, is just, like you said, very unnatural. So I know a lot of people say, well, it happened to me to find a new purpose. And there's other people that are like, no, there's no purpose for me. But you are using your pain to try to help other families. Yes. Going through. Did you ever have the feeling of like, oh no, she doesn't know my pain because she lost her husband and I lost my daughter?
No. I've never thought of any comparison. A hurt is a...
It's a hurt, yeah.
It's a hurt.
Mm-hmm.
For part of our time, we were so consumed with Jamie's appointments and stuff. It was kind of like we had unplugged from our surroundings. Not that I think people meant to pull back, but they really didn't know what to say, and they didn't know what to do. So it was easier for people to stand back. But I really think that's one reason I have embraced wanting to go to people and help them in their need, is because I know that lonely feeling when you need people the most and you need that support. A lot of times people are afraid, so they stay away, And I never want anybody to feel like they don't have someone to reach out to,
Yeah. Especially in a moment like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Very hard moment.
Yeah.
If you could say something to Sean,
Yeah.
what would it be?
I would just probably tell him how much life that he stole from us, and the beautiful life that Jamie could have had if he would have just not made that decision to knock on her door and to act so selfishly, out of anger, spite, whatever his excuse was. It was so meaningless, But not only did he tear up our life, his family. People don't realize their actions, how many people is actually impacted by just a brief moment of you acting on a thought. I'm sure that his family are heartbroken and didn't know what to say, devastated, in the same aspect of feeling like they've lost their son these years that he's at prison. It's so meaningless.
Do you think you have forgiven him?
I do think. I never had an angry thought towards him. Do I like it? Absolutely not. I wish this situation would have never happened. But in no way could I say that I've ever been angry with him. I think it's just more hurt of not understanding what gets a person to that point where they make that decision, to harm others, or my brain just doesn't work that way,
Well, what do you tell a grieving mom right now? A grieving parent?
Grieving parent. I would let them know to focus on the happy memories they have from their past, to talk about their loved ones, to still let them be a part of their life, and find ways to still just keep going on. There's never a point, even though as much as we hurt, there's never a point to give up. You've always got hope. And you've just got to be able to surround yourself with people who can bring you up and not bring you down. A lot of times you feed off people's emotions, and when they're so sad and they're hurting for you, that's not really what grieving people really want to hear. They need to be encouraged, not to hear the mully grubs, So our family was, I know we were put together with a different group that was in our church, a different family, and they have just recently, last year, they lost a son. And I know for a fact that our families was put together to be able to understand what we're going through, and to walk with each other. It's not a pain that I would ever wish that anybody would have to go through, but you still have hope, You just have to take it day by day and look for brighter days are coming.
And they say that a pain like that, you don't get over it, you learn to live with it.
Exactly. And it's how you choose to live with it. You can let it overcome you, or you can use that pain to find a benefit in life, to still see the good, As much hurt and sorrow that you may have, there's still something good in every day.
And you've done a lot. You changed the law, for upcoming incidents like that. I know it's not something that we say, oh, it's going to happen, but it's sad. We live in a very cruel world.
Yes.
And sadly, it's going to happen again. But at least as a mom, you know that you did what you could in Jamie's name.
Yes.
For somebody else to finally find justice, innocence,
yes.
And how do you want people to remember Jamie?
I want them to remember the happy, the giving, the loving person she was. She loved nothing Nothing probably reached as high as Tarleton. She loved the college. She loved her friends. And so one of the things we also did was did a memorial scholarship at Tarleton, and the Welcome Center where she worked, it is also named in memory of Jamie. That was such a vital part of her last few years, and she just loved it so much, you know. And
So
so,
she was able to witness that.
yeah, she knew that it was going to
It was
happen.
happening. Okay.
But it did not happen till after she passed away. You know, it takes a while for processes to come through. But her picture hangs on the wall in the Welcome Center, and with her name and her story. And you know, it's like she grew up when she came to Tarleton. I mean, you grow into that adulthood, your independence and such, and that was the important years of her life, you know. And so that's what we try to remember her, you know, her laughs, the great days, you know. It's so much happiness can be found in that instead of dwelling on the difficult days that we had.
Yeah. You're trying to find something positive.
Yeah.
Out of all the bad, honestly, that
Yeah.
happened to you, which that's amazing, you know, because not everybody takes that route.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people take the route where like, oh, it happened to me, nobody understands my pain, and only I know my pain, which is very amazing. You know, there's really no words that I can tell you as a mother to another mother,
Yeah.
the loss of a child, you know, but you're doing great things. And Jamie, wherever she's at, she's very proud of you, and she's very happy that you're doing all this in her name.
That's my goal.
So, is there anything else you would like to add?
I can't think of anything else.
Well, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming and telling us Jamie's story. You know, you're going to change a lot of people's lives, helping them with their grieving process. And, you know, there's a scholarship under her name. The law was changed also in the justice system. So, thank you so much for everything you're doing.
Yes, our pleasure.
All right.
I wish that heaven had visiting hours, and I would